It was just 2 years ago that I engaged in a battle of wills with 2 clematis that I was growing in pots here in the vegetable garden. If I look like I've been through some things, it's because I have. And honestly, things didn't really go well after that. So you can see this pot over here. This is one of the matching pair of wood pots that I had those clematis planted in before. And they were growing gangbusters. They were doing so well there. The problem is they had eaten up all of the room in that pot. Their root system took up the entire pot. And so I needed to sort of cut the roots back so they would be okay in there. And I actually was still trying to get annuals jammed in the top, which may have been probably my undoing. So I pulled them out, I trimmed the roots on them, and I put them back in. And they never really flourished after that. They did originally, and then they sort of stopped. If you recall, I think that was like a 5-hour project of me just yanking on those things. So those roots were damaged quite a bit. The bigger issue I have ascertained as I've looked into this is that I screwed up the drainage big time on those. Now, clematis love really rich soil, but they still want good drainage. Almost every plant really wants good drainage. And because these pots have just a grate at the bottom, I needed to do something to keep the soil in them. So what I did was I have lined the sides of those. This, by the way, worked very well because these wood pots are, they came in here in 2018. So we're at 8 years now. And they are still in actually really good shape because the sides were lined with fiberglass insulation board. Now, I did that actually not just to save the pot, but also to provide a little bit of extra insulation for winter. But I also did that when I repotted them. I did that at the bottom. And I can't remember what I was doing before. I think maybe I just had like fabric or something at the bottom. Anyway, this is what was on the bottom. And you can tell that even though I drilled holes through here, you can barely see through them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was the problem, that there was not nearly good enough drainage. When I made that video, many of you said 2 things. Well, one, why didn't you just put landscape fabric there? Again, should have done that. But a lot of you said, why don't you just do the Bunny Guinness thing where you remove the bottom of a pot? And that, I thought, boy, that is what I should have done. But there was no way I was going back and redoing that project. So we're chalking those up to lessons learned. We're starting over from scratch, new pots, new clematis. Let me show you what's happening. I have changed things up a little bit because I decided that if I'm going to do this again, I'm doing it once and I'm doing it right. So the first thing that meant was getting rid of the wood pots, which one of them, I mean, like I said, they're in pretty good shape. I lost sort of a chunk of one of them when I was taking these out of here. But obviously they're wood. They're not going to last forever. What will last forever is steel. So I have gotten this pair of really pretty Corten steel pots. So I bought these from Cortzen Decor, which is a corten steel store specializing particularly in garden stuff in New Jersey. And believe it or not, I found them because Roy Diblick designed the owner's garden and was there, I think 2 years ago. There's a video on Roy's channel designing he's got this very modern, cool house, and Roy designed and planted this garden over like the course of a week, and it's stunning. So that is how I found this company. And when I found it, I was like, darn, I wish I would have known about it, because you know that my water bowl that I have by the house, I had been looking for something like that for ages, and I finally ended up buying a fire pit off of Etsy, which is great. I like it. It's not exactly what I wanted. Exactly what I want is at Cortzen Decor. So whatever, it's fine. We have that now. But I also did the Bunny Guinness thing. So if you don't know Bunny Guinness, she has a channel on YouTube, but she is a very famous garden designer in the UK. And she has talked on her channel before about how one of her tricks that she likes to do is to cut the bottom off of pots so that plants can get the height and the look of being in a pot, but eventually they will grow into the ground. So that's what we did. We bought these really beautiful, super nice, thick steel pots, which by the way have little feet built into them, which is not what you usually find with these. And then I cut a giant hole in the bottom. Well, actually I didn't, Mr. Much More Patient did. And that's going to be helpful because the clematis that are going back in here are another version of Clematis Viticella, or Viticella, Vitcella, Viticella, which are super, I don't want to say aggressive, they are robust vines. And so if you saw that video when I pulled these out the first time, how huge that root ball was, you can see that like these things are going to need to go into the ground. And certainly why you would only ever plant one of these clematis in any pot, because they are so vigorous and those root systems are so huge that they need all of that space. So that's what's been done. We cut big holes. We probably left about a 4-inch frame around the outside to make sure we structurally leave everything great. And then we took a file and just filed off the edges so that we didn't cut ourselves. And then I have filled these up with a mix that is slightly lighter than what I did in here last time. It is primarily my favorite Organic Mechanics container blend. I also use a little bit of their premium blend, a little bit of the soil that came out of these pots originally, which was good soil. I just think I had made it a little too rich. A little bit of biochar, and that's where we're at. Before I did all that, I did reline these with the insulation. I really feel like that insulation, that foam board insulation, I feel like it really helps. Now these are hardy down to, I'll have to check, it's either zone 3 or zone 4. So we should be fine in pots with these. And the other ones were hardy down to zone 4, and those were definitely fine over winter. Now, unfortunately, I didn't think about doing this project until late in the year. And so my favorite clematis nursery, which is Brushwood, was sold out of a lot of things. So I was trying to choose from things they had in stock. And I ended up picking one that I actually think is going to be really pretty. It's called Poldice. I kind of got myself into the idea that I wanted something that was kind of a bicolor for here. And I was really going for Minuet. And someday I will put Minuet somewhere because I think it's really, really stunning. But for this one, I got Poldice. Now I'm going to show you the two plants. By the way, so Brushwood sends their plants in, they grow them in like gallon, like square gallon or 3/4 gallon size pots. And then they take them out of the pots and they send them to you in a plastic bag with a big note that says, get them the hell out of this plastic bag right away. So they came a bit ago, a month ago maybe. So I planted them. I just put them in different pots because I wasn't ready to plant them. So that's why you're seeing this, I just reused a pot that I had. That's one of them. Unfortunately, this is the other one. So I didn't take them out of the plastic bags immediately. I let them sit for like a day, which I have done before. They tell you not to do it. It was beautiful when it came. And I let it sit for like a day. And unfortunately, what I didn't realize is that this one had fallen over. So, and they were in the greenhouse. So the plastic was like over the foliage. Well, things didn't go well, but clematis are super tough. And we do have new growth here, right here. So I think we're going to be fine. And I'm planting this. It'll just take a little bit to catch up. And it's totally my fault. Since I've made my soil where I want to be on this, I'm just going to add, I've always been told that you want to add a handful of bone meal when you're planting clematis. I have good luck doing it, so that's what I keep doing. And then I also have some of the, this is the Fuhgeddaboudit root zone feeder packs from Organic Mechanics that have all kinds of stuff in them. So I'm going to throw one of those. Actually, I'm going to throw 2 of them in there. I'm going to throw in, technically only need 1, but I'm going to throw in one into its sachet and the other one I'm going to open up the sachet. I have filled these pots up super high because I know that the soil is going to sink over time and that's going to drive me nuts. So I tried to pack them as full of soil as I could so that the sinking is not so bad. So you can see this is how it comes from Brushwood. That soil, it did not really, it was just starting to root out into it, but you can see this is how they come from them. Now this is a group 3 clematis, which means that you can plant this one at the soil level that it was in the pot. And group 3 is the easy pruning type. This is the type that you just prune down to like 6 inches or so, or even more. I just go down to like the first set of buds. And for my clematis that are in the garden, it's the rabbits generally prune them down for me. So I don't even have to do that. I just have to clean up their mess. All right, so that is Done. Easy peasy. And for at least a few years here, I will have room for some annuals in the front eventually. What I'm hoping is that maybe these roots go down, so I still have room here, but we'll see how this goes. But the clematis is the star, so it gets to do what it wants to do. So I'm putting the one that's a bit behind now in this pot because I think there's slightly more sun over here. So I'm hoping this one, you know, has a bit of an advantage. Oh, and I made that hole too deep. I think this clematis is going to recover just fine. Like I said, they are really good about reshooting when something, putting up new shoots when something goes wrong with them. If for some reason it doesn't, I can always get another one. Or I've got lots of seedlings from the original clematis that was in here, which was called Little Boss, because it has seeded around quite a bit. And I leave some of them growing. There's one growing in the gravel behind me. Hi, Darwin. Or I could also plant something else too. Plant a minuet or something. I don't necessarily have to have the two of them matching. What I do look for, though, is one that's going to be high enough to reach the arbor up here so that they go over the pergola or the arbor or whatever the heck this is over the top of the gate. All right, so good drink of water for both of them. So they are all watered in. And that's all there is to do for now. Are you the water tester? You want some water? All right, well, let's chalk that one up to a lesson learned and new opportunities in the garden. All right, guys, have a great day in your garden. We'll see you soon.